All right, so thank you all for joining us for the 13th reading in the very awkwardly titled David Has Zoom Pro for a few months reading series, where a few months now means like over a year and a half, I think. So the few doesn't make any sense anymore. But again, thank you all for being here, and thank you to my wonderful readers for sharing their work tonight. We have the lovely Zoom chat, which is one of the benefits of a Zoom reading. So you can shout out things, praise the readers, simply type applause if you want to type applause. There's also I think the Zoom emojis, so you can have little hand clappy things going if you want to. Shout out lines, just use the chat if you want to use the chat. It's there. It's fun to use. And tonight we have Sommer Browning, Tony Mancus, and Niina Pollari reading their work in that order. And we are going to start with Sommer, who is a poet, writer, curator, and artist. Her latest book is Good Actors from Birds LLC. She's the author of 2 other collections of poetry, Backup Singers, and Either Way I'm Celebrating, as well as the artist book, The Circle Book, and the joke book, You're on My Period, and others. In 2017, she founded Georgia, an art space in her garage in Denver. She has performed all over the country, including in stand-up comedy clubs and in theaters with Gasp, a poetry theater group. Her poetry, art, writing, and visual art have appeared in Hyperallergic, Lit Hub, Bomb, Jubilat, Chicago Review, the American Poetry Review, and elsewhere.
That's my cue. Has everyone been published in elsewhere? I think so. That's a really common one. So I'll read some poems, why not? It's a poetry reading. Thank you, David, for having us. I'm excited to read with Tony and Niina. Haven't seen Tony in a while, but we live in the same city. It's been a month, maybe. Yeah. I'll just start here with this one called Zygote. When a woman reads an entire novel in her lap in one night, and the first person she sees upon waking is a man. When a bird shits into a swimming pool where a man and woman are swimming. When a woman breaks 3 glasses in 3 days, and on the 3rd day calls her mother, but her mother doesn't answer because she was in a car accident. When a man sends a woman a pen through the mail, but the woman never opens it because she's out purchasing a pregnancy test. After a woman follows a man to a big city and lives with him in a small apartment, this woman must eventually get a good job. When a mommy and daddy love each other very much. When a woman asks a woman about the kind of yogurt she brought to work last Tuesday, and the second woman begins to cry because the first woman is trying so hard to ask something stupid and normal. When a woman is very smart. When a woman is alone. Anxiety. I'm sure we're all familiar with this topic. If I write the script, I'll have you say, hold these melons in the produce aisle. And you also know one of us will have to grab your crotch. Life is like that. Palindromes are fascinating just because people find them fascinating. G.G. Allen put a stick of dynamite up his ass, lit it, and jumped into the crowd. He was a lot like Socrates, unexamined life and all that. I guess I'll never have as much anxiety as either of those guys. And just so you know, I'm moving out. The first number will be a blues. I like so much driving as fast as the car can go on a highway in the country, 120, say. It's best if there's a person with you, someone you're dating, maybe you love. someone more scared than you are to see you free. Have you done it in your 40s? You should do it in your 40s. And if you're too frightened, what you need to do first is go fuck yourself. Then you'll be able to do it. In 1955, before his band begins to play the blues walk, the band leader, Donald Byrd, says, the first number will be a blues. Don't you love that surety? Will be a blues. Not, I think we'll play a blues. Not, how about a blues? But the first number will be a blues. And hell if it isn't. The thing about public land is it's not mine and it's not yours. It's this third uncomfortable thing, ours. And things that are ours abide rules we learn through others. Yours and mine rules are boring. We're born with them. The first number is 1, and it will be a blues. You don't have to tell me twice. The pain I see in my child is my mother's, and I'm the bridge. Another poet might tell you about all the research she's done on Donald Byrd. Should wedge Byrd's life in here as allegory or something worse, metaphor. Before we're born, my mother tells us we watch movies of every life we could be born into, and then we choose. The little baby points from her astral cradle. That one. I choose that mama. I choose that daddy. I choose that irrevocably broken marriage, that accident that wires my jaw shut, that burned popcorn, that daughter late in life named Georgia, that root canal, that unending night on mushrooms, that dog bite, that last beer with Oren, that A+, that DUI, that refrigerator stinking of rotten eggs because I don't have enough for the electric bill. So I have a, part of this book has this kind of social experiment in it. When early in 2021, I posted, if you tell me which Twilight Zone episode you remember best, I can tell you what your problem is. I posted that to Twitter and Facebook. And like 200 or 300 people responded. And I had to tell them what their problems were. And I did. And I can tell you what your problem is too. If you tell me which Twilight Zone episode you remember best. The one with Jonathan Winters, David. God, I don't even know if I know that one. I don't know that one, but oh, he's a pool. That's funny. I can only picture him in diapers and Mork and Mindy. Okay, David, let me see. Your problem. Your problem is you believe there's a difference between what makes you happy and what you pursue, and this causes misery. Chris, the thing on the wing of the plane, yes. Classic.
Seriously.
Okay, Chris, your problem. Your problem is you can't reconcile your experiences with what you know of the world.
You really think that's a problem though?
And this causes you to feel powerless. Yeah, I do. You asked for it. It's my opinion. And opinions are horrible, as we all know. One more, here we go, Jessica, the one with the guy who just wants to read and then breaks his glasses. That one is so painful. Okay. I love that one. Your problem is the contradiction between how you feel and what you know can immobilize you to the point of suffering. Yeah, opinions. I love that, Nina. I'll just read a couple more. Thank you for playing the Twilight Zone game. I've turned this into kind of a one-woman play, and so I might read some that don't appear in the play. Nightmare. I dreamed you were dead. It was very horrible. They made me give a presentation in your stead at AWP, and I did, but hyperventilated the whole time. Or I didn't. I can't remember because I was blacked out with grief. I dreamed you were dead from a Subaru ramming itself into the ditch where you had camped. And when I woke up sweating, I heard 2 gunshots in the alley out back. I dreamed you were dead, and in my dread, I hugged Julia and I said, "But he is my oldest friend." I dreamed you were dead, and in the dream, you were my roommate. And while already dead, you and I woke up together, and I held you, knowing you were a fantasy, telling you in your ear, "I know you're already dead, but this is how I get to hug you one last time." I hoped you could stick around until Georgia moved out. I wondered if I should still mail the package to you, care of Jen and Jesse in Portland. I texted you, "I hope you are not dead as yet. I hope you are not dead yet as of this text." And you replied, "I am not, as far as I know, though I'd probably be the last to know." Okay, I'll just do one last one. Thank you for paying attention to me. Life a draft. I want those trace amounts of narcotics in the water supply to take effect. I want to write a memoir in one-liners. I want to start a marketing company that unmarkets everything. I want to start a party bus company, but instead of buying a party bus, we'll just use the city bus. And instead of partying, we'll just be commuting. I want to write a book so disgusting it makes over-the-shoulder subway readers puke on the people reading it. I want this to be a very, very serious joke book. I want to start saying numb nuts a lot more. To me, life is an infinite jerk-off motion without beginning or end. To me, more wives wish their husbands dead, and more husbands actually do it. To me, I'm surprised I'm still alive.
I love my wife.
An aphorist who hates aphorisms, a self-helper who hates the self. Every tornado begins as a cartoon dogfight.
Does everyone get to speak in here, or?
The joke, no, just the readers, but I'm sure you could talk after. The joke is you're born. That's why they call it a delivery. Numbnuts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Summer, for kicking us off. I'd forgotten about the Twilight Zone poems. I adore those. Kind of imagine you like basically being a fortune teller, having folks come to your house or something, and just they tell you what their favorite thing is, and they pay you $200, and you tell them what's wrong with them. I love that. Our second reader, Tony Mancus, is a poet and instructional designer who lives in Colorado with his wife, son, and 2 yappy cats. His first book, All the Ordinariness, was recently published by The Magnificent Field. He is the author of a handful of chapbooks and served as the chapbook editor for Barrel House. His poems can be found in The Tiny, Dream Pop, Sixth Finch, Oversound, and other places.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking part of your evening to be here. I can't read things with glasses on anymore because I'm old. I'm going to read a part of All the Ordinariness and then 2 other things, but this is the book. This is a section of crossing out now, which is the last section of the book. If you cut the characters into cute squares, if you take them down and down again into the halo, the sun belching, shit stains on the carpet, and the children in their know-nothingness blearily joyed. Among the buildings and their sutures, it is hard to sing sometimes with all the forest rattling your thoroughfares, with all the holes in your throat, and how a body folds billows-like into itself when tensing for the form tomorrow takes. We are busy with keys and with whatever they don't fit into, jangling our feet as they suck into the earth, get pulled up by the roots, insides bound up by bags, whatever skin the fruit wears. When we touch, it becomes a bruise. We swear we didn't intend, but the law is formatted from intent-free language, and we are sheltered by our fears, proliferating now to points along a coin. One circle spitting back its noise, the worth gone out of it. To fit all the numbers less and ask them what they mean, how mean they are, to ask them what they forget in their perfection and simple maths, to pluralize words we know singularly, and then erase them as if there was no board at all to begin with, just a field of smoke and the borders we'd drawn in with our crayon fingers, just these tiny hands trembling in the darling dark. A body cannot whole and ask, a body cannot whole and task and hold and scratch questions across the casing and face of this, any this, any this, any this, any nothing nation. Put your hand out and tell me now what is wet when the idea of wetness is in your hand already. See, this trick of language does not form an alternate reality. All the things we think are real in that we think them, and so the machine grows. Its tiny eyes proliferate, and we can no longer access the knives, the drawer or concept we had removed. A body cannot know all of its holes. A body whole consume a whole body, fill it in, the whole against its better judgment. And the eyes keep growing. There are no breaks to be caught, only broken and not quite, yet we keep going. If you cut the tongue on a piece of paper, assume the paper's white, what you didn't do to seal it up after the blood began. Assume it was an envelope, maybe, because why your tongue ask it, why it asks, why it asks, why. Ask it why it was cut. Why your tongue is busy but not saying much. What it's doing is bleeding like it does, so you can taste it now, the metal tang. If you are able to make out the difference between coins in your mouth, you are able to count the value there and maybe points along the disc's edge if you're sensitive enough. I keep shaking and sharing and shit, but the situation don't change. The peril inherent in any eye, these strings of images return to form their constitution. We share the frame and the fragment of narrative, like our lives depend on it. I'm realizing that I speak and type maybe in a very confusing manner, as I am constantly confused. I swear I've kept better track of these lines. The news announces people are like pennies going out of circulation soon, and the comparison fails right as the crowds collectively wish and throw themselves away. The action I say is taken is just imagined. Nothing happens so often and so much of nothing hurts, but that is real, right? That hurt so much in nothing and between us all here. I can't fathom the musical interlude it would take to get us to feel our skin go live again. The catch in breath when someone turns the faucet on and your eyes well up and dull the brake lights into red pools. That streak, the trembling of your voice, red in the road, the same tremble as the songs when it comes back through the static with the rest of our voices stalled, calling out. Imagine a city within a country, a side within the sigh and clutch. How heart goes through a series of doors before it's recognized as flawed and the security agents stop it before the gates. Beat, wand, flame. Imagine 1,000 points of flight. The rails sky set and fingered back down by all the landed creatures, rid of their usefulness and design features, valued less and less capable of being pinned to their bodies. I'm trying to track the traps laid out for our voices, and each thought gets tangled into sound before it straight up disappears. Say poof and think of the safety switch being clicked off. Say poof and think of what is real in the nothing that comes after some other things erased. Into a older chapbook called Apologies. I used to, whenever I read, just say sorry for like being in front of people and existing, but I've gotten a little bit better now. I just apologize for like the work instead of myself. So anyway, sorry for killing all the life on earth. Sorry for my wants, my sincerest apologies. Sorry that I didn't stick to the wall or the road or the path to career or the apostate's posture in the ring of fire. Sorry for the poorly spelled, made up words and all the commas. I'm sorry to be asking. I'm sorry to so much of you. Sorry for not ever seeing you again and all the time that passes between the moments when we're able to actually communicate like friends. I'm sorry for the things you feel, if you feel them or do not. Sorry for the plums and the wheelbarrow and garbage lid and the river floor with its collection of bottles, the snagged hooks and bloated fish. I'm still so sorry for the feelings as they move through you, for my part in them or not. I'm sorry for all that you've lost and will continue to lose, and for you being lost to others. The dearest of them deserted in our futures, where the only thing left from these lives we're caring so much about is stories and then silence. I'm sorry for their machine-washed memories when we can't complete the frame of the pictures they've screened in glass or rifled through their cubes like sugar specks and dust. And then I'm going to read something that's actually much closer to me. My brother joined a cult, and this has been a point of stress for me because he's like cut off communication with basically everybody he knows. And a little while ago, Keon Davis put out a call to people to like do a response to Midwinter Day. And I tried to do that and I did a shitty job of it, but I've been sort of like writing in that manner for a little while. And I think I wrote this while I was traveling to Tucson to actually go see Sommer's show. So I figured it might be worthwhile reading. But, so it has a bit about my brother, and we'll get through it quickly and then you can stop staring at my face. There's space for surprise if you stare blankly at something enough. It doesn't really matter what thing specifically. Whatever you're looking at becomes unfamiliar. Out the window of the airplane, the words "reinvent the wheel" make me wonder how many wheels are out there. This thin one and that one like a block with rounded edges. Oh, I to reinvent it over and though pass us through its middle. And I don't know if figs and dates are cousins, but maybe they should share a family tree. The rock patterns don't make me think home is anywhere really. At the end of it is an endlessness, the boy in the video arcade in Levis's poem says, so teenagery, and yet. There was another thing I wanted to fold, but I forget so much these days how to crease, drop, flag on a windless day. Some middle 20 years ago now, I was closer to the front of a plane out to Tucson. I can't place the year, but I think it was when Steve lived there on Campbell. I read a Burroughs book, My Education, which I can't place now, somewhere in the tall bookshelves gathering dust. Mostly dreams, I think, and small memories, peopled not with Algiers or anything that would suggest the mugwumps. I think it was something he wrote well past the very long middle of his adult life. What fits neatly in the grids below us, inked white by snow, no, lined up by rows and rows of field and road. Seb looks up from his screen and says, I'm really hungry. So that's him in the background. Look at the land until it becomes a sound. The folks surrounding us unmasked in their quiet forms. The land shot through with a lightning strike of waterways. In another season, there would be a color to associate there. Then the clouds like white hills, no elephants to be found. I almost fell asleep, but my feelings kept me from it. There's something in the show I was shoulder watching with subtitles. I want to ask you questions as if there is a you. What patches of pine make up your reminiscence? Some hint of the past in the highway exit signs and off ramps. The new Killer's song wanting to be like Springsteen when it brings up the opioid issue. And I think of Jeff, whose last name escapes me, left-handed and dead in the 90s before the full-bore dive into despair that seems to be bearing out everywhere now. Almost everywhere, at pool parties and empty houses with windows like closed eyes. I could see the cloth and how it never comes to an end from the curtain rods, just swims through the whole structure and grows dust in its weave and as it slips out the back door. I think the pattern says exit. I don't have a direct question for Elle on the cards next week. The veggies are on their way to freezing. And the show, I'm shoulder watching the young mom and her late teenage daughter keep having moments where they check in on each other. One asks, "Are you okay?" Neither of them are named Annie. It's challenging to think about thoughts when you're thinking, but I wonder why Steve was never adopted. He kept his name distinct from the house, and maybe that too was a sign. The dent in the sheetrock from his thrown fist, 1-2. We apply for our lives. And I can't hear what comes next with the chatter about credit cards scripted to get us to mile our round miles and mile our round wheels. Instead of an endlessness, I think I'd see a play bar where we could scrub forward and back at our leisure forever, if I was that boy. Seb asked what trouble was on Pena Boulevard as we approached the airport. Shannon said, when things go wrong and there are consequences. Or that was her response to getting in trouble. She juggles several things while we're in the air. We dance around meaning when when what we know is set as a foundation, or what we know is already well defined and etched out by what we don't. I said problems. He didn't ask what they were though. But what are they really? The roots of requirement. I forget what it's like to live inside books, but the stories we tell are full of trouble. The stories we tell ourselves, we tell ourselves trouble me or troublesome. We can't grow old without getting into some serious trouble. The pressure in my ears are building, some number of minutes from the ground. Water will be one big groan of trouble. They speculate, infamous, unnamed they and all their habits and long underwear, that AI will outstrip human intelligence in a time frame that makes me uncomfortable. I want to buy everything I can and then lose it like language. A scrub as far forward as it will go just takes us to the credits. Anything could be a sign. Let's just read one more section of that, but I'm going to try to sing. This is going to be bad. He's a mighty good leader. He's a mighty good leader. He's a mighty good leader all the way. Ringing in my head like the children's cartoon songs that echo daily round. The turbulence from one sky ride makes my hands unsteadier. The wobble in each line more akin to a felt tremor rather than a rounded earth. And so many of my thoughts end with me looking for where they went and what fed them. It's a cursed thing, the brain, told to be master of its domain. But when the surveilled particles wreak their messes, I think a dog-like thought, and then what happens to the rest of my body? Turn outward. I think I know nothing well now. And Seb says, Dad, I see my father's turn toward me and my turn, something about patience and lack or mistrust of what will come next. There are equations and the screen printed words of strangers on our chests. I think the people I know will eventually feel older than they felt. All the way along up to heaven, you led my brother, high and tight in the strings and clotheslines, shirt for belief, a memory corded yard. In a meeting on Teams today, Keenan held up a glass full of green liquid and called it a cucumber sadness. The booze gone for the first month and a strawberry on the rim of the glass. The pilot intrudes, or maybe it's a flight attendant. I'm uncertain what they tend to. Wait staff in the sky, treat me like the way. He said, the drink tastes like cut grass. And I said, there's a place for that. And someone else said, yes, the yard. And we eventually shut our faces off the screen. He led my mother all the way. Still, I can't avoid the one-sided conversations over and over. I owe you nothing, but there Steve stands with a wiffle ball bat and the plates out for bases, smell of grass in our mouths, and it's hard to take someone out of your memory. Easier in pictures or to not look. Eventually, I'll have a lot less frequent, intrusive monologues, I guess. It's hard to know not knowing so well. All the way along up to heaven, he's a mighty good and we swat at the sun like our lives were only that day long. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. Some of those lines are going to haunt me. Did you say people are like pennies going out of circulation?
Mav?
All right, that's going to stick with me. Okay. So Summer told some of us what was wrong with us. Tony sang. I'm excited to see what our third reader has for us. Niina Pollari is a poet and Finnish translator currently living in Western North Carolina. Her newest book is Path of Totality. She's also the author of the poetry collection Dead Horse, as well as the co-author of the split chapbook Total Mood Killer. Recent poems, interviews, and essays have appeared in Granta, Iterant, Sarka, The Millions, and elsewhere.
I have no talents. I'm sorry. So forget it. If your expectations are low, just lower them some more. I want to read one poem from Dead Horse, because Summer and I are pressmates with Birds LLC books, and this is from that book. I am skinless in a limo. A little bit of context. I am skinless in a limo, but I have like a dress on. It's a green dress like a bird from a very green place. Because I have no skin, I'm afraid of touching the sour door handle. I'm very vulnerable. I can't really leave. But my friend, when I think about you, I'm having a hard time understanding. You see, we lost touch when we were children in a faraway country. You and me, orange, tan, and happy. I was eating tiny fried fish at the square, grinding up their mini skeletons, chewing their soft spines with my teeth all day. It was such a sunny day. The sun was petting us. I didn't have to lick you. I didn't have to do anything I didn't want. But that was back when I had skin. Now I'm sad and nasty, grafting onto the seat, wetly, in a long car, as outside it rains and is also a twister. If I went into the rainstorm now, all of which would be ruined, the green fluff turning to soggy brown, covered with the red of my body. It's so good knowing your inevitability. The skin is the largest organ in the body. It breathes and eats on its own, and it's very talkative, and I miss it in the quiet car. But there is no changing the present, and there is no fucking with what happened. So here's a statement of the facts. My friend is somewhere else, and I am skinless in a limo, and we are headed down. And here's a poem that's not in any book, but I just feel like reading it. It's called Beast Ice. When I tell you I like your hair, I am falling down drunk. The Doors are playing. I say I never liked Jim Morrison or his baby nose, even though I respect him as a 27-year-old dead person. He had a good performance ethic for a man. And you laugh. I put you in 2 or 3 of my memories. You were never there, but I like imagining you in my timeline. There's a theory about feelings I heard before I left school, but I can't remember it, so what does it matter? I don't know what made me want to insert you into the day I threw up on that girl's lawn. Her hair was different than yours. Some people die from feelings. I can't remember anything else now. Sorry for the false start and really for everything. But looking at your beautiful hair, I feel my heart rising like King Lear's wandering uterus. Okay, now I'm gonna read from, oh, my blur is like making this. No, okay, well, anyway, I just didn't want you to see my gross attic. It looks like I'm on a boat, but with stink bugs. Okay. Yeah, Path of Totality is my new book, and it's not that new anymore. It's been out for a year, but it's about some sad stuff. So I'll read some of those. People have sad stories. People have sad stories. The husband died, the baby died, or they didn't die. They just stayed sick for a long, long time. Eventually they died. The pearl scraped off, the ring sunk deep into edema. In the photo, my face smiles. The lighting is executive flattering, but the granules of my skin have no sweetness. They have spent their money. I touch my face when I go to sleep, and it is like someone is touching me. Eventually, I tip backward. Then it's another one. You can just end up with nothing in return. 4 quarters get you a tall can of iced tea at the gas station, and then you walk off into the night. Time gets into a car like a glamorous woman in a raincoat, lapel so big you don't see the woman, but she's there, or she was, for a little while. The funeral director came to your apartment, a big question mark over her head. She had a plastic box. You wanted her to like you. Why? Today it rained all afternoon. I ate the lunch I brought instead of the one I wanted. My husband is alive. The fist of my heart almost unclenched itself, but I caught it. If I say a word twice, that doesn't mean it's negative. I love you. No, I love you. I wasn't gonna read this one, but then Tony went on his I'm sorry thing. So this is called I'm sorry. I want to apologize. I'm sorry that I have had to pull you down with me into this antechamber full of cold blood bags. It's hard to believe such a room exists, that there is really a room where they just put bags of blood. But they stack up and stack up. When I got here, they didn't cover the door, but now they do. I don't think anyone ever comes for the blood bags again. No, really, it's drafty. I'm so sorry. Hold one of the bags and feel the blood inside. This is my mothering instinct talking. I'm sorry for how this ends in a chamber that used to lead somewhere. One of my favorite things to write about is money and the way money works in our lives. Life force. Let people see you from a distance. Outside, they stand on a dune looking down. Inside, they stand on a ladder going up somewhere, and then they look back at their sad friend sitting in the middle of the living room. In the restaurant, you fork a salad around a plate, move the pieces into your mouth. They feel like pieces of a dollar bill going down your throat like you're being paid. When you eat something, you take it apart with your body. You reject most of it, but some of it has to be made into you. This is like grief. My friend goes, "Hey, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch." My husband read a book about how money is a life force, and you get to choose when to give it away. The bills I receive ask for even more money. I pay for iron pills, I pay for stool softener, but there is a bill I received that I still have not paid. Months pass, 7 months have passed at the time of this dispatch. I choose not to give away any more of my life force. I am the one with the power. At the Drowned Valley. I need you, but I can't talk right now. I know you understand. Let's go down to the river like a pair of convalescents. Let's walk slowly toward the gray river, and when we get there, let's open our eyes, which have been closed for days, and we can regard the gray river as it pulls listlessly down towards the bay. Let the air throw birds around like manuscript pages. Let my pain radiate from me like skin cells sloughing, like an automatic process. And as I clasp my hand into yours, let's close the emptiness between our palms and force out the distance till there isn't one. Here's a nice poem about pee. Urine season. Summer in New York is urine season. Everything has an odor. The hot rain comes and hoses down the sidewalk, but the smell remains floating there as warmth on live skin. People toss bottles out of their cars, and the bottles explode over the sidewalk. Or they stand closed and roll to a stop, then cook for days next to an architecturally famous building. Last time it was urine season, I was expecting. That's how you say it. You don't say what you're expecting. I didn't know what I expected, but now I know. I held my pee on every corner of this town, waiting to meet my daughter. This year, I've been watching a live stream of a falcon nest. On a ledge above the sidewalk are 3 falcon hatchlings. They wait and watch in their rocky nest, knowing that their parents will bring them smaller birds to eat. There were 4 eggs in the nest, but the 4th didn't hatch. The 3 remaining hatchlings grow larger and more dangerous each day. They rip apart tanagers and starlings as they learn the ways of predation. They shit over the edge of the building. Their excrement drips down the side. Today, the falcons left. This is a poem about expectation. At the hospital, I had a catheter. It leaked on the bed, on the sheets, against my legs. Someone came in and asked where my baby was, not seeing the decal on the door. I have never felt as helpless. It's urine season again. It will be again and again. We will feel this way again. Some will say this is not a poem for them, but I say it's a poem for anyone who ever expected anything. Interim. In the interim before the disaster, I transform into the Godhead. The transformation is so easy, it's almost aesthetic. Suddenly, I exude an amniotic appeal and leave trails of cervical mucus that allow me to be followed. My nipples are targets. My body's hairs are individual, like lovingly made line drawings. I am full of blood and food. Being the Godhead gives me a voice that is many whispers driven into one voice. It makes me compelling to everyone I address. It's just like listening to the woman of your dreams. And you know what the disaster is. You have seen it in your own dreams. A mountaintop blows inward like a face hit with a fire extinguisher. The brown cantaloupes roll into the acid ocean. But the good news is that I can save us all so easily. This poem is not insane. In the interim before the disaster, we can hear the thunder and look upon the signage as it illuminates letter by brass letter. Live, laugh, love, and we can recognize ourselves for what we really are. I will do the traditional announcement of 2 more poems. This is called Poem for Pigeon. I wrote a lot about animals in this book because I don't know, I mean, I'm theorizing now, but at the time when I was writing them, I felt deeply disconnected from everything, like the natural world, the human world, all of it. So I don't know, I guess I just started thinking about animals. Poem for Pigeon. Sometimes it's missing a leg or an eye as it walks, like a stubborn wind-up toy down the dirty sidewalk, cooing, eating, shitting, hiding its half-assed nest in a raggedy bodega awning, or building it around a row of bird control spikes, using the sharp metal to hold up sticks and cigarette butts and eventually eggs, then sitting there staring as if to say, "Fuck you, I live here." Purple gray as an exhale from a delivery truck at dawn, looking at the world with the red eyes of the hungover, the city's own relatably messy little buddy, hungry and down for whatever, no matter how undignified. Chicken bones, dog food, vomit, opportunistic and ready, just to see another day, hurrying toward the food cart, nearly under my feet as I walk to my office with my anxious stomach ache and my lunch packed in my bag and my eggs unspooling themselves into nothingness day by day. I see its feathers in the flower pot, droppings on the windowsill, footprints meandering like a signature across the fresh concrete in front of the Whole Foods as the sun rises for the millionth time like piss in the bladder. Ooh, I have a conflict because I have 2 that I've marked. I'll read them both. Maternity coat. I walk through another winter without you. I'm wearing a coat that has another baby's spit up on it. It's a faint outline near the collar. When it comes to clothes, I am following a well-worn tenet. Dress for the job you want. and then free. This is also the last poem in the book. I swim in the morning, treading water in the municipal pool until my muscles fatigue. I'm trying to loosen the knots that always wind their way tighter in my shoulders. This has nothing to do with you and everything to do with you. My arms open wide across the blue water and then close again as they near my body. It's your birthday. Today you watched from the moon as we made you a cake. Then we cried as we ate it in the living room on our new couch with the stain-resistant fabric top. The cake pan was the one I bought last year, before you were born. If you were here, we would have used the same pan to make your cake. Therefore, the pan is like a scrying mirror into the other world. If I bake in it perfectly, I can see my life again. There are still people who don't know that you died. I feel a mysterious pull to hold on to those people even while I know that I can never see them again. I have been doing nothing. I have been waiting, pouring water after water into my body just to wait for it to exit like a tube. One of us said the phrase perverse freedom. Freedom you never wanted. Freedom you feel shitty about. I am free like a flyer jammed in threes into the door of an apartment building. I am free like buy one, get one free. I am the one you get free. Thanks for having me and letting me talk at you.
Thank you, Niina. That was incredible. I'm still just kind of sitting here amazed that a poem called Urine Season could be so beautiful and heartbreaking. I loved it. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of our reading. I want to thank Sommer, Tony, and Niina again for sharing their work with us and their time with us, and to all of you for tuning in and joining us. And hopefully you'll all come back on, I believe, March 23rd for Jared Beloff, Claire Denson, and Kay Ivor. They'll be joining us for the 14th reading in this selfishly titled series. All of the links to our readers' books are in the chat. There's also, for the first time, an after Zoom where you can have virtual cocktails with some of our readers. So definitely check that out if you have the time. And it's virtually here it again for Sommer, Niina, and Tony. And again, thank you all for tuning in, and I hope to see everybody next time. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.